Well, good evening. Sorry we have a late start this evening, but at any rate, I believe we're ready to go. Are we live? We are. Okay, thank you. All right then. It's, what is it, 5:27 p.m. The regular session of the Planning Commission of the City of Lancaster will come to order. Tonight I'll offer an invocation. The pledge will be led by Commissioner Tufts. So if you'd all please stand. Father God, we are meeting tonight to consider Planning Commission matters and deliberation on their outcomes. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our endeavors may reach fair conclusions. Tonight we also pray for our colleague, Commissioner King Moore, who is seriously ill. He's a tough Marine, and we're hopeful for his speedy recovery. Please keep the King family in your hearts and in your prayers if you choose. We thank you, Lord, for being our source of guidance today, and we ask in your name, amen.
All right, if everyone will turn to face the flag, put your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Have the roll call, please.
Chairman Vos.
Here.
Chairperson Harvey is absent. Commissioner Moore is absent. Commissioner Tufts
Present.
and Commissioner Underwood.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. There you go. The red one. As long as it's red, yeah, you're fine. All right, public business from the floor. If anyone would like to address the commission on any matter before the commission tonight, you're asked to fill out a speaker's card and give it to the recording secretary, and then when the item is called, you'll be asked to come to the podium and can address the commission. Individual speakers typically are limited to 3 minutes each. However, applicants are given adequate time to present their project if they so choose. They are not obliged to, however, they may wish to. First action item on our agenda tonight is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of June 21st, 2022. So, have a motion, please.
I'll motion that we approve the minutes from the regular meeting of June 21st, 2020.
Thank you. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Please vote. There you go.
Let's do that again. Want to do that again?
Motion passes 3-0 with 2 members absent. First item, action item, or second action item, I should say, is a continued public hearing. This matter was carried over from last month's meeting, since we didn't have a quorum for that meeting. So this is conditional use permit number 20-04. The presenter tonight is Ms. Campana, and So without objection, if you give us a brief report, please.
Good evening, Chairman Vos, members of the Planning Commission. This item before you is conditional use permit number 2004, which is a request for the construction of a new cannabis cultivation and manufacturing facility. So here is a vicinity map of the proposed project. It's located between Forbes Street and Sierra Highway. It's on vacant property and it's zone light industrial. It's right next to the Lamar Advertising Building. On the screen is the proposed site plan. So the project site is 1.06 acres. The building is 2 stories and is 22,843 square feet. The parking lot consists of 17 parking spaces. There'll be landscaping within the parking lot and along Forbes Street. There's going to be an 8-foot tall wall along the property. And in regards to security, there'll be lighting and cameras on the exterior of the building. There'll be a security patrol officer, a real-time monitored camera, and then the proposed project would not be open to the public nor would provide public parking. Here's the floor plan. So as you can see, there's multiple cultivation rooms. There'll be a trim and dry room and an office area. This is the design of the proposed building. Here are the elevations. The building implements architectural elements such as metal awnings, a complementary color scheme, and a blue accent wall. In conclusion, staff recommends that Planning Commission adopt resolution number 2224, approving CUP 2004. That concludes staff's presentation. Staff and the applicant are available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. For the record, we received 2 pieces of correspondence on this matter. The applicant provided staff with what is known as an uncontested letter, which indicates the applicant agrees with all the conditions as recommended by staff. We also received a piece of correspondence from David Dorst. I may not have pronounced that correctly, D-U-R-O-S-T. We received that letter today as well, that the commissioners all received. So, members, do you have any questions or comments? No?
So I did have some questions here, and based
Go ahead.
on the letter from the constituent, was asking questions regarding the water usage. And, I mean, that was probably one of the bigger things, because we're seeing a lot of that where we're looking at our environmental. Currently, we have a lot of restrictions on watering. You know, just like any other, the farming they talk about throughout the state of California, there are issues with farming. So again, another farming type issue. Do we know what the water usage will be? We've had multiple accounts where illegal growing of marijuana has resulted in millions of gallons of water being stolen. So what is the consumption on this process? Do we know? Do we have the...
I'll let the applicant.
Okay, the applicant, all right.
Good evening. Is it Varro?
Versosa.
Good evening, sir, and welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioner. My name is Kenneth Versosa. I'm a representative for the owner, Legacy Support. In regards to the questions on water usage, with a cannabis operation, 75% of our water use, it will be recycled water. The grow tables that are located within each grow room contains a certain amount of water. I believe we had calculated that our annual water use will be in the neighborhood of 150,000 gallons per year. 75% of that water gets contained back into a holding tank, and then it's refiltered, added with more nutrients, and then back into the grow trays.
All right, thank you. And then can you tell me how many employees they're estimating for this?
For the operation, there's going to be a maximum of 8 employees. 3 of them are the horticulturalists that will be monitoring the grow. We have an office manager, and then, of course, we have security personnel.
Okay. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I have a question.
There may be other questions.
No problem.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. Underwood.
I have several concerns. First of all, I'm familiar with the location. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I'm familiar with the location because I buy my plants practically next door, okay, to that location. And also, I've lived here in the valley for more years than most of us can count. I've kept an eye on what's going on in the surrounding communities who have grow spaces, legal grows. The legal grows in our valley, okay, not Lancaster, but in our surrounding area, the legal grows have almost depleted the watershed. I gather that from newspaper articles that have been posted about it. I'm going to vote no, because we have not enough water already. We're asking our residents, our farmers, all of our people who rely on our water, we're asking everybody to cut back. This is the antithesis of cutting back. I don't think the time is right. I'm also concerned because this will be bringing into our community something that there's going to be a lot of demand, and I understand that's business. But the demand will also bring a lot of problems because there'll be more people smoking pot, there'll be more people dabbling in drugs, there'll be more drugs being brought into the community. Those are things that affect our community's happiness. And I don't mean happiness on drugs, I mean the way we are able to live together. I'm also concerned because for all of this negative stuff, there's only going to be 8 employees. And so that's not going to be much of a boost for Lancaster. My thinking is that your effort would be better suited to another area. I'm not against cannabis. I'm not against your efforts. But I think it's not going to be good for our community. And there are going to be problems. Just like Rosamond has had problems with their legal sales and growth. Cal City has had major problems, all within the legal framework of growing cannabis. And I don't want to have those problems here in Lancaster. My encouragement to you would be to find a different area that has more water and is more remote so that there's not as much chance of people coming and getting involved with trying to break in and steal and all the stuff that goes into the criminal activities that accompany any kind of drug use. If you guys can figure out a different area to have your plant, your grow plant, I think it would be better for everybody.
I believe based on the ordinance with the city of Lancaster, we're only allowed in certain zones within the city, which is basically, if I'm correct, industrial type zones.
Right.
So the major areas that could be used for cannabis grow would be one by Fox Field. The other area I can think of would be east of us on the other side of the railroad tracks from 10th Street East to Sierra Highway and L to M.
Right.
And certainly this area, which is zoned as light industrial. So there's severe, based on the ordinance, there are severe locations where we can only apply for. As towards the water, so we've been in discussions with both LA County Water and AVEC as towards our purported water usage. At the time we had our discussions with them, it was made mention that there was not an issue with the availability of water. Now AVEC, with their management of the aqueduct and of course being the major supplier of water to LA County, has told us that at the moment there is not a shortage. Now, that doesn't mean if we continue with the drought conditions that there will be. We are open, and certainly we can discuss with the City of Lancaster the use of recycled water. There is a recycled water main in Sierra Highway, which for our intents purposes will meet what we would need for irrigation. So we can hold discussions with the city with the use of that water. So if we can lessen our burden, certainly we will try and not make an impact onto the aquifer and or to the water supply.
When I suggested that you find a different location, I was suggesting outside of Lancaster,
You know,
elsewhere.
Ms. Underwood, I want to interrupt you now
Okay.
and this conversation. You know, certainly you have the right to express your opinion. We currently have an ordinance in this city that allows the use as is being proposed. You certainly can vote against it if you choose. However, we don't choose applicants and we don't choose locations. Applicants do that. And in this case, they've selected a location that meets the zoning standards and the conditions of the ordinance the way the city council approved it. So if we don't get 3 yes votes tonight, this applicant will appeal to the city council, and it's my bet that the city council will approve it. That's just another step and another expense that the applicant has to go through. To suggest that a developer goes somewhere else other than the city of Lancaster is not, frankly, what I believe this commission stands for.
Perhaps I could have used different verbiage.
It's entirely up to you. I'm not going to get in an argument over it. All I'm doing is expressing the reason why the city of Lancaster has approved cannabis cultivation within certain constraints, and those constraints are broad and onerous in a lot of opinions. However, and there are very few cannabis cultivation operations currently operating in the city. I think there's, what, 3? 3 currently?
Correct.
And of those, have we had any law enforcement issues?
None.
Okay. Have we had any concerns as it related to water usage?
We have not, Chairman.
Pardon?
We have not, Chairman. They have all been in full compliance with the conditions of approval that were part of this commission's responsibility to impose, and all of the facilities are in full compliance.
All right. Okay. So just to make sure I'm covering the intent of the ordinance as adopted by the city council that we're obliged to conform to as a commission, did I state it properly?
That is correct. You did state it properly.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So you're certainly welcome to continue, Ms. Underwood.
My apologies for making this a little bit more difficult. I still am not in favor of it, but I will go ahead and vote okay and pass it on to City Council.
Thank you.
There was a comment about the perimeter walls. Did I hear you correctly, Ms. Campana, saying they're an 8-foot high perimeter wall?
That's correct.
So in that location, there is a industrial park. And I don't know what the underlying standards are for the operation of that industrial park. Is there any intent to cap that 8-foot high wall with any other type of barrier, for instance, razor wire, that type of thing?
That's not permitted.
Okay, just to be clear, that is not permitted.
That's correct.
Okay,
We do have along Sierra Highway, we will be using an 8-foot tall wrought iron fence with a block pilaster, so we do have the visibility from the street onto the property. Also on the Forbes side, we will also be using an 8-foot tall wrought iron fence for that security. We want to be able to be transparent to see anything into the parking lot. I believe our 8-foot tall fence will be along the south, which is up against the Palmdale Motel. And there's an existing block wall on the north, which is adjacent to Lamar's property.
but that, is your building built on the property line, or is it built
It
off on
is,
the north?
yeah, it's on the north side of the property, 10 feet off property line.
All right, so your building, north building wall is on the PL then?
Yes, close. We have enough space for fire department access.
So we've had no comment from the developer or association if one exists in that industrial park. I'm not sure one exists.
I believe in that industrial park, I don't think there is any other cannabis grow.
Okay. And you mentioned that recycled water there's a recycled water main existing in in Sierra Highway currently.
Correct.
Right. I think it's a 24-inch main or something down there.
Yes, I believe it
is.
goes south to Avenue M.
Right. So is it I'm asking staff now, I'm sorry. Is it a condition of approval that they're obliged to utilize that source of water?
I'll let Stephen Creo with Capital Engineering answer that question.
Okay, thank you.
No, there isn't a specific condition requiring them to use recycled water. Actually, their site plan doesn't show a recycled water meter on their plan.
No, we didn't indicate a recycled meter on this. If it does become an issue, we can certainly apply for one and certainly meet the standards for the city.
The standard conditions just for water just say comply with the water service provider and do whatever's necessary to meet the requirements of the water. If there anything additional is needed for fire department or the water, then that's what's expected of the applicant to do.
All right, thank you. That's all I have. Anyone else?
Yes, I guess I have a question. I thought I heard you say 3/4 of your water was coming from recycled, or you're recycling 3/4 of your water?
The water that we would use, the 3/4 mention is reclaiming 3/4 of that water use that we would get from LA County. That goes into a containment tank, gets filtered, and then gets repopulated with the nutrients to feed back into the plants.
Okay. And then, I guess, again, a question for the staff here. Are any of the other 3 grow houses, were they using recycled water as well? Do we know?
No, not to my knowledge. I don't believe they had been.
Okay.
Yeah, I think most of the recycled usage is in public parks and irrigation for landscaping and that type of thing, right, currently?
Okay.
In the city, although it's also used for grading activities that developers can access it for grading activities.
Okay.
Instead of using treated water. They're not obliged to, but it's available at a much less expensive cost than it would be to use treated water.
Okay. Well, that's all I have. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
May I ask one last question?
Go right ahead.
The recycled water reminded me of something that I read a couple years ago, that the water that's used in the grow process picks up a lot of chemicals that are not native to the soil and the water table. Is that an issue that you guys are going to be able to mitigate if it occurs?
Yes, any water used in the irrigation of the plants will go through a filtration system. The water is contained into tank. The filtration systems will separate any inert or materials that is not suitable for disposal. Once the water is treated, it then will go back into the process. After a certain period of time, after that water's been filtered and reprocessed and whatnot, then the last filtration would be disposed through the sewer system. But it will be basically clean water. It won't have any inerts or minerals or any material that would be harmful to the environment.
Okay.
All right, it's Mr. Sosa, right?
Versosa.
So, you've reviewed all the conditions and you agree with the uncontested letters been presented to us, right?
Correct.
And compliance with all the grow requirements of the city ordinance as it relates to cannabis cultivation,
Correct.
and all the security requirements and the inspection requirements and on and on and on.
Yes.
What's the euphemism that's now used? Seed to sale? I'm not sure that exists, but it's being touted as a wonderful fallback position on cannabis cultivation, right?
Yes.
Even though there is no statewide seed to sale structure that is enforceable.
Well, as I understand, there's not too many, no, there isn't any distribution licenses within the city, so
Right,
seed to sale to a degree.
to a degree. So the proposed operation is to cultivate, manufacture, potentially cannabis oil, right?
Yes, we would have the products as towards whether they're used for a medicinal purpose or recreational purpose.
Right. Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any public speakers?
No speakers on this item.
None? Okay. Ms. Campan, anything else?
Nothing else.
We've rung it out, have we? Thank you. All right then, so no further speakers, anything from staff, members, anything more? All right, then it'd be appropriate to close the public hearing then without objection and consider a motion.
I'll put forward the motion to adopt resolution number 20-24 and approving conditional use permit number 20-04.
Which is to allow the operation of a cannabis cultivation and manufacturing facility and a new construction of a 22,843 more or less square footage building,
Correct.
right? Okay. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anything further? Please vote. Motion passes 3-0. with 2 members absent. Thank you. Next item is a new public hearing on tentative tract map number 82830, which is a request for extension. Actually, the next 2. Ms. Alvarado?
Good evening, Chairman Vose and members of the Planning Commission. This item before you is a request for a 3-year time extension of tentative tract map 82830 to subdivide the subject property from a 6.5 gross acre parcel into 22 single-family lots and 2 lots for drainage basin in the R7000 zone. So the subject property is located at the northeast corner of New Grove Street and 65th Street West. Future development of each of the lots would be subject to further review consistency with the Lancaster Municipal Code and design guidelines. Staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 22-21, granting a 3-year time extension to May 18th of 2025 for TTM 82830. So following this item, we have the request for a 3-year time extension on, tentative tract map 82831, the subdivision of a 3.27 gross acre parcel into 12 single-family lots.
Mitzi, I'm sorry, I have to stop you there. We need to take a vote and discuss the item first.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
That's all right. I confused you by indicating they're the same applicant with adjacent properties for extensions on maps we approved a couple of years ago, right?
Yes, they are.
Okay. So I hope I didn't get you in any trouble with the boss over here. No?
She's fine. She just won't have to do another presentation for the next item.
Well, see, there is benefit here. All right, then, so do we have any speakers on this item?
No speakers on the item.
Okay, this is on item number 3, which is tentative tract map 82830. So we'll close the public hearing without objection. Consider a motion, please.
I'll put forth the motion to adopt resolution number 22-21, granting a 3-year extension on May 18th, or to May 18th, 2025 for tentative tract map number 82830.
Okay, that's subdivision of 22 single-family lots and 2 lots for drainage in an R7000 zone, right? Okay.
Affirmative.
More, yep, thank you. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you. Anything further? Please vote. Motion passes 3-0 with 2 absent. All right, thank you. So now the public hearing is open on tentative tract map 82831, which is also an extension that Ms. Alvarado covered for us. So do we have a speaker on this item?
No speaker on this
No
item.
speakers, all right then. Any comments from staff, additional comments? No? Members?
No.
No? All right then, we'll close the public hearing without objection. Consider a motion.
I'll put forth the motion to adopt resolution number 22-22, granting a 3-year extension to May 18, 2025 for tentative tract map number 82831 for 3.27 gross acres for a subdivision of 12 single-family lots in the R7000 zoning designation.
Very good, thank you. Have a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. Anything further? Please vote. Motion passes 3 yes with 2 absent. All right. Next item, number 5, is tentative tract map number 83346, including a variance number 22-01. So the public hearing is open on this matter. Ms. Garibay is presenting on this.
Yes,
Go right ahead.
thank you. Good evening. The item before you is a request for a subdivision of approximately 27 gross acres into 111 residential lots, and a variance for the reduction of lot depths located in the R7000 zone. The subject property is located near the northeast corner of Avenue H8 and 5th Street East. It is surrounded by mostly vacant land to the north and east, and residential subdivisions to the south and southwest. Lot sizes within the subdivision would range in size from 7,000 square feet to 10,800 square feet. All of the streets within the development would be private. A variance for the reduction of lot dimension requirements for 46 of those 111 lots has also been requested as part of the application. This proposed subdivision would need shorter lot lengths to match those of the neighboring development. This subdivision would complete the remainder of the neighboring development. With that, staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 22-25, approving tentative tract map number 83346 and variance number 2201, as well as adopting a mitigated negative declaration. Thank you. That concludes my presentation. The engineer and myself are here for questions.
Thank you. How many lots on the depth was there
How many that need a variance?
in the variance? Yeah.
46.
46.
Yes.
And the depth adjustment is,
It varies, but typically the majority are around 96 feet, and we require 100.
right.
So it's not a major
3 or
difference.
4 feet.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, thank you. Do we have any public speakers on this item?
We do have a speaker, Jason Blom. You can come up.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the name.
Jason Blom.
Mr. Blum, welcome.
Did I get that right, sir?
Close enough.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's okay. Let's see, my time already started? Okay, well, I'm here today, number one, because the sign that was just placed barely 2 weeks ago, and it's on the other side of the property where all the residents can't see. I just happened to see it because I drove around the block to go to the mailbox a particular day. My concerns is Ruby Ridge, I guess, is the developer. They're the same developer, I assume, that vacated that whole development back in 2008 when the economic turn had gone down. So one of my concerns as a new home buyer, and I've only been in my home not even a year yet, is that they will retract again. And as KB Homes is continually filing for a delay of the construction of their sites, that they will then again do that within the development, which could hinder our property values. The second thing is myself and about the 15 neighbors that I have asked had not received any information whatsoever in the mail regarding this healing or the plans of the development that's being requested to accept the new variance for the smaller lots, which could affect our home values. The other item is the sign that was placed has the wrong address for the city hall, which I'm a new resident to Lancaster, and I would have ended up in Palmdale earlier if I did not double check on the address. So that's two major concerns. No notification.
Can I interrupt you and back you up just a little
Sure.
bit, and so you can say that again, because I didn't. You're saying that the public notice of this action indicated a different location for the city of Lancaster?
That is correct, for the city hall. It's missing a digit. So I would end up in Palmdale on Fern Avenue.
Sir, I'm sorry, are you referring to the sign that was posted on the property?
That is correct. And
Okay.
that's the only notification I received, as well as most of the neighbors in my neighborhood, because we did not receive anything in the mail regarding any variances of the future developments or any future developments that are being taken place in
Yeah,
our neighborhood.
yeah, there's a mailing requirement within a certain radius of the property lines. And
Right.
depending where that radius strikes, it may or may not have affected your property.
Right in that same community where they're developing, sir. Which
I
was
don't-
formerly
I don't
Ruby
know.
Ridge, which is
It's certainly
Richmond.
worth, it's certainly worth looking into.
Yeah, which
Definitely.
is a Richmond American Development came in after Ruby Ridge, and then I see Ruby Ridge is applying again for development. That's an area of concern. Are they going to abandon this project midway through? And then it took, what, 13 years for another developer to come in to take
Yeah,
over
we
where
have-
Ruby Ridge was prior?
As we mentioned earlier, we don't select sites, nor do we select applicants, which could or could not be the ultimate developer. Typically, when we get applications, these applications are represented by typically engineering firms who are engaged by the property owner to present the proposed track maps. We have no idea who the developer would be or when they may or may not choose to develop. We don't have any control over that. We just don't, I mean, that's not within our purview to control. We have no authority over who develops when. We do have authority over how it's developed and what the development standards are and what the eventual product looks like, but we don't choose the actual developing entity. I don't know if I'm confusing you or
Well, no,
making
well-
any sense.
Well, the question remains is, we haven't been provided any of that information. So
Well-
how could we adjust?
Yeah, but you wouldn't be,
or
if you're
go
asking
for-
for who the developer is, that information is not available. If you're saying you didn't get notified of this action, proposed action tonight, that is an issue. And I would be concerned that, in effect, we might take a couple-minute break here and look at the file and just see who went where on what mailing address. You've owned the property for a while?
It's going to be 1 year this August 30th.
So you own the property?
I
not-
own the property.
Yeah, okay. And your neighbors do as well?
Yeah, which might be driving around in Palmdale right now looking for the meeting. Because I spoke to about 15 of my neighbors that were supposedly to attend
Yeah.
today.
Well, what else would you like to share with us?
Well, my concern that we weren't notified, either by mail and the misguided information on the board, it just leads to some concerns. And the fact that they're reducing some of the lot sizes, will that affect our home values? So that remains to be seen. But it just seems odd that, you know, you're saying that you can't disclose who's developing it or anything, or what homes are going to be built there. That's also a concern as being a homeowner in the neighborhood.
All right, thank you.
So my question, I guess one question is, how are you able to vote on this if the community has not been well informed?
I'm not sure. Personally, I have questions of staff before we propose any action item on this, and the applicant's representative if they're here, and we'll see where that takes us.
Okay. Well, and I just want to bring up the fact that when I look up Ruby Ridge LLC, there's not any information found on the internet.
It's not what?
You don't find a website or any information.
Yeah, that's not unusual for an LLC, that's for sure. They should be registered with the Secretary of State, whether they are or they aren't. Who knows?
Okay. All right. Well, that's what I have
Yeah.
to present. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Carl, is this your project?
I guess it is.
All right. You're going to be the last man standing here. I don't know, man.
Good evening. Carl Malik with David Evans and Associates. First of all, we're in agreement with the conditions, and we didn't have the opportunity to get an uncontested letter in, so if you can consider this verbal uncontested letter, we're happy with that. To address the gentleman's concerns, there's two forms of public notification: the public hearing sign that's posted on the site, and notifications that go out in the mail, and we're required to submit to the city a list of property owners within a certain radius and a corresponding label for the city to send that notice to. And that is based on the assessor's roll at the time that we make the submittal. So if it's a relatively new owner, there could have been a break there. However,
The address would be the same, but
the address would be
owner
the same,
could be
though.
different.
Yeah, correct. To answer the questions on the lot sizes, the reason that we have a variance and we have some lots that I think are down to 94, 96 feet deep is this is actually a redo of a former approved tentative map that encompassed this tentative map as well as the southwest corner of our area that's being developed right now. So the phase 1 recorded of that tentative map, the remainder expired, and so this is a new tentative map over that remainder. And based on the configuration of the old tentative map, we had some street configurations that didn't allow that lot depth. The lot sizes are all over 7,000 feet. We did make adjustments in the widths of the lots to make sure we conform to the 7,000 square foot minimum.
So the minimum square footage or the square footage meets the minimum or larger?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So, what do we do on the noticing issue? If, as I understand it correctly, a portion of the public noticing process may have not been correct?
As Mr. Malik indicated, that's mostly why there's multiple ways of notifying members of the public. Not only do mailers go out to residents within 500 feet, the site itself has a poster board, or usually you see these larger wood-framed signs that do indicate that a project is proposed and the hearing. Unfortunately, if there was an error in the address or there was a number missing, that was in fact an error, that is unfortunate error. Luckily, it led the public to Lancaster. The third notification is also in the newspaper, so there are multiple ways to notify the public of these project applications. There could have been, as Mr. Malik indicated, a time where the application, by the time that the application was submitted to now, there may have been a gap with ownership. It is really ultimately at the Planning Commission's discretion if you would like staff to renotice. That is really up to your purview, but that's the primary reason there are mechanisms to notify the public in multiple ways.
Well, our city ordinance state law requires certain notification process, and our city ordinance mirrors those requirements, plus the signposting is an additional item in the ordinance, isn't it?
That is correct.
Right. So if the speaker's comment that that 15, if I understood him correctly, indicated that they received no notice, no mailed notice, and they're all directly adjacent to the project. It raised a concern on my part, and a renoticing and another hearing is a cost item, certainly. However, the ultimate outcome of a decision of this commission on an appropriately filed map is most likely an approval. I mean, historically, if you look at it historically. However, I certainly would want to have the public properly notified of their due process, and that's really what we're talking about here tonight. So it would be my suggestion and recommendation that we continue this matter and have the project renoticed, verifying the appropriate mailing addresses of the property owners within that circle. Whatever that circle is, I don't know, is it 500 feet in these?
It is 500 feet. The commission could also choose to expand that, just to ensure that the circle is adequate, or it can remain at 500.
Yeah, it's 500 is what we typically do in the urban areas, and was it 1,000, 1,500 in the remote areas, right?
Correct.
So, that's what I would prefer doing, if that's in agreement with everybody here.
Yes.
Okay.
I think he had another question.
I'm sorry. Who does?
No, the speaker has his hand raised, but don't know if you want him to, if you want to allow additional comment, Chairman.
If you want, excuse me, if you want to say something to us, you have to come to the podium, because some of us can't hear worth a darn. So it's okay to speak loud.
I live in the lot just below one of the purple areas over there on the map, and I'm only speaking of the neighbors, my neighbors in my community that live on that map, not across the street in the older development that was developed in the 40s and 50s.
Well, we'll have the firm that prepares those notices, those labels. I mean, the city doesn't do it, okay? You have to understand the process. It's the applicant's responsibility, and they certify that they've done it properly. So if that's what the current public record is, then that's what it is. We can't change that.
Right.
But
then again,
it needs to be verified, and that's
Right.
going to be our decision.
I discovered it because of the billboard, but the billboard was not even put up 2 weeks ago, prior to this date. So
All right.
I just need to bring that up. And I only would have seen it because I drove around the block to go to the mailbox on a particular day on the other unfinished part of the community.
All right, very
That's
good.
where
Thank you.
the sign is placed. Thank you for your time.
All right, then, so if there's no objections, then we'll continue this item until the project is renoticed or verified that the noticing names and addresses are correct and renoticed. Would that be appropriate? Okay,
Absolutely.
very good. So that would be, what, 2 months out typically before we hear it again?
The commission, I would recommend that the commission vote to continue to the next regularly scheduled planning commission hearing. And if at that time staff does not have the labels and the updated items, then we would come back with an update.
Okay, all right then, so the motion would be to continue the matter to the next regular meeting. Right? I'll make that motion, so I need a second.
I will second that.
Thank you. All right, please vote.
Are we voting yes or no on this?
We're voting yes. I hope.
Commissioner Underwood, you would be voting to continue the matter.
Thank you. That was my concern.
We're good. 3 yeses,
Yeah.
2 absent. So the motion carries. All right, and the last item on the agenda is Ms. Campana, a labor of love. She's been working on the zone text amendment to Title 17 of Chapter 17-10 and Chapter 17-12 and 17-16 and 17-42 of the Lancaster Municipal Code related to alcohol beverage establishments. And my eyes are falling out from reading all this wonderful stuff that you've done. Very good. Thank you, by the way. You've done a great job on this, so go right ahead.
Thank you. So this item before you is the alcohol zone text amendment. So city staff received direction from city council to review the alcohol establishment section of the zoning code to incentivize businesses and provide business-friendly environments that would streamline the current process. Okay, so this is a little hard to see on the screen here, but this is your zone text amendment chart that you have as part of your package. So staff surveyed and analyzed codes and policies from neighboring cities and ABC, as well as looking at past projects that we've approved with alcohol. And as a result, here are our top 5 changes in the zone text amendment. So we made a lot of changes to the definitions. We added definitions, removed definitions, reconciled and revised, and then we modified a couple conditions, or not conditions, definitions in there. And then we added the use and permit requirements table in Chapter 1742. The third big change is the removal of the request for a waiver. And then the fourth is a minor use permit process. It's a new process that is going to be allowed for only convenience market and neighborhood markets, and I'll be talking about that later in the slide. And then the last thing is removing the following sections, the factors regarding public convenience and necessity. That's not going away. ABC does do a review, and then they also they email or notify the city if they do need one. And then the conditions approval for on-sale alcoholic beverage establishments and off-sale, those are not going to be codified anymore, but those conditions will still be on conditions of approval for each project that we get. So this is the comparison table. Like I said, we had many different definitions for pretty much the same type of use. So we combined a lot of them. So bona fide restaurant and fast food just became bona fide restaurant. Convenience market and mini mart became convenience market and neighborhood market. The grocery store and supermarket became grocery store, supermarket, drugstore. Liquor store and primary off-sale alcoholic beverages became a liquor store. And then primary on-sale is now replaced by bar. And then winery is now alcohol production, and that also includes breweries, wineries, and distilleries.
So that, you're adding spirits to the alcohol production coverage, huh?
Correct.
That seems to be a new thing that's happening in the world, I guess, and certainly in California, right?
That's correct.
Have we had any applicants for that type of
Not
use?
yet. But alcohol production, all similar to wineries and breweries, so we added it to the
Right.
definition there.
So it would be like what, pot stills typically for spirits? Is that what you would envision?
I assume so.
Okay, thank you.
So here on this slide is the use and permit requirements. Alcohol production in the industrial zones would require a director's review. Alcohol production in our commercial zones would be a director's review, but it has to have a minimum 25% retail and a maximum 40%, and it has to include a food menu. Bars would still require a CUP. Bona fide restaurants would require a director's review. Convenience markets and neighborhood markets would require a minor use permit if it's only beer and wine. And then I'll talk about the public notice that goes along with that one. And then if it includes spirits, it's still a CUP. Grocery stores would be a director's review. Alcohol sales in conjunction or incidental to a hotel would be a director's review, and a liquor store would still require a CUP. So the new process is the minor use permit. So this is only for convenience markets and neighborhood markets selling beer and wine. It requires a public notice to property owners within 500 feet of the project. This also includes shopping centers within 500 feet and the tenants within that shopping center. So the approving authority is the director, but the director may refer the project to Planning Commission or City Council for consideration and decision.
So if a minor application comes forward and the applicant doesn't like the conditions that the director imposes, then what's the applicant's choice then?
So they could,
I'll step in, Ms. Capana. That's partly why this was designed as such, that if there is a discrepancy or a concern, then it would be elevated to the Planning Commission level.
In the rare case that might happen. All right, thank you.
That pretty much wraps it up. So staff recommends that Planning Commission adopt Resolution 2226, recommending approval to City Council a zone text amendment to Title 17, the various sections to Chapter 17 of the Lancaster Municipal Code relating to alcoholic beverage establishments and modifications to the standardized conditions for use in the approval of land use actions. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. So, the appropriate authority is not defined in the definitions. It's not listed in the definitions, but there are many references to the appropriate authority. So, am I to assume that would be, it would include the director, it would include the Planning Commission and the City Council? Is that your understanding of what that means?
That's correct.
Okay. And the minor application format is different than a conditional use permit application. It's not as extensive. And has a fee been established, or you have to go to the fee ordinance to change that?
The fee has been established. It would be the same fee that is currently charged to, for the traditional smaller CUP, which is the, I don't have the fee off the top of my head, but it's for existing structures. It's not the higher
So it's like a
fee.
site plan review fee?
It's much less than a site plan review fee, and it's much less than a CUP for new development.
Right.
It's a lower fee.
But the process, there are similar reviews necessary. There's similar things that must be included in the application.
That is correct, including mailing labels.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Members, questions, please?
Yes, I do have a question. So with this change of the structure, does it still meet the requirements from the ABC for approval levels through the city?
That's correct. So we contacted ABC about this ordinance, and they didn't have a problem with it.
Okay, thank you. Because I saw that. I was just wondering, yeah, there's different layers here of approvals. So, all right, thank you.
Yeah, you removed all the license numbers out of the ordinance, basically, and just blanketed it with conformance, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So we're saving a few hundred trees probably, huh? Well, if anybody prints stuff anymore, that's... All right, anything further?
No questions.
None? No, sir. Okay, very good. All right, Ms. Campana, thank you. No public comments, it doesn't look like, does it? None?
None.
Okay, so we'll close the public hearing, consider a motion on this.
So I will propose that we adopt resolution number 22-26, recommending approval to City Council a zone text amendment to Title 17 zoning, Chapter 17.10, Chapter 17.12, Chapter 17.16, and Chapter 17.42 for the Lancaster Municipal Code relating to alcohol beverage establishments and modification to the standardized condition of use or condition for use in the approval of land use actions.
Very good, thank you. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, then, anything further? Staff? No? Members? All right, then, please vote. Motion passes 3-0 with 2 absent. All right, that concludes our action items for this evening. Ms. De La Cruz?
Thank you. In the interest of time, we'll keep it short and sweet. Just know that we have full agendas through December. We added the January forecast to our forecast. So please, if you plan on being out, do let us know ahead of time. A quorum is very critical, especially now that we are missing Commissioner Moore, who should be in all of our thoughts. We are anticipating that the council will fill some of the vacancies in the coming months. So hopefully that will help with quorum. But still, if you know you'll be out, please do let me know ahead of time because we are full. The ladies, as I sound like a broken record, but the ladies are doing a fantastic job. And the gentlemen as well that are sitting in the back. Never want to forget the gentlemen. But on the planning side, the ladies are just extremely busy and doing an amazing job with all of the workload that we have. And you will also see a lot of that in the coming months too. So it is safe to say that the agenda review meeting for the next several months will not occur. Those are the special meetings that are typically the second Monday, given just timing and vacations and all of that. We will stick solely to the regularly scheduled meeting, and we will let you know and coordinate all of the agenda packets. And we're trying to get the agenda a little bit early to you. We're still working towards that so that you have a little bit of time to review it. So be on the lookout, most likely the Thursdays before the meeting. So the Thursday before the third Monday, you should get your agenda. If you do not receive it, please, please, please let me know. Text me, call me, whichever works for you. That way I know that you have what you need. And that's it for tonight. Thank you.
So, through the end of this calendar year, it'll be the third Monday. However, January and February are federal holidays on the third Monday in January and February, correct?
That is true.
So, and we typically in December change our January and February meetings to the fourth Monday, right?
Correct.
So, maybe you want to circulate a calendar to the members, just to be sure it gets on their calendars. Or you can, I don't know, it depends on people's method of being notified, you know, ever how you put it on a calendar, I don't know. If everybody uses a Google Calendar, or everybody uses whatever you use, you know, so, anyway.
Absolutely, Chairman.
Right.
We'll get ahead of that.
You know, and if the city council does choose to add to the commission, I mean, there's 7 members supposed to be, you know, that just increases the need for a quorum if there are 7 members. So we currently have 5. That's even though the requirement is 7, so a quorum is 3. But if you add an individual, then it becomes 4. And if you add 2 and like that, so have to be careful. Now, I don't know if anybody upstairs has thought of that, but I'm just expressing my sentiments.
I'll bet Heather's thought of it.
Anyway, so, thank you. Do we have any comments from the commission? Nope, thank you. Public business from the floor, nobody's here. So we can pass that and we'll adjourn. Well, this calls for an adjournment to our special meeting on September 13th, which we won't have.
Correct.
So our regular meeting will be the 20th.
I think it's the 19th. It would be September 19th.
19th? So why is Monday then September 13th on here? I don't have a calendar in front of me.
Oh, that's an error. It would have been
Okay,
September 12th.
okay. I turned my
Oh, wait.
phone off, so I don't have a calendar in front of me.
Same here.
All right, then, so we'll stand adjourned to our regular meeting on Monday, September 19th, 2022 at 5 p.m. here in these chambers. And remember our friend King Moore. Thank you. Pleasant evening, you all.